Hey everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my guide for Urgot Reroll. Urgot Reroll has been around in the meta for a little bit now, but it performs a little bit better at high elo. Using the default Diamond Plus filter, you can see that it's ranked about number 7 in comps, but if you go up to GM Plus, it jumps up quite a bit. I think if you go to Challenger, a lot of Challenger players actually consider this to be the best comp in the game, at least on NA. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the board. So you're normally not going to have Warwick. So this is normally your level 8 board, but because it's a reroll comp, you're normally rolling on level 6. Uh, you'll want to give your experiment bonus to Urgot and Zyra. There's never one in the second hex, so Urgot will always be somewhere in the front row. Normally on level 6, you're not going to have Corki, so you're just not going to play 4 Artillerists. If you do find Corki, you can maybe drop like Gangplank Elise, but normally you're not gonna have Corki. So these will kind of be like your core 4 units, and then any pit fighter, Gangplank usually fits pretty well. You can frontline him, you can backline him either way, just depending on what you need more of. And then Elise fits really well as well, giving you Form Swapper with Gangplank and Bruiser with Nunu. If you don't find Elise, you can just play like a Rennie in the meantime. Or you could even just play like 3 Artillerists if you have like an Ezreal 2. Any of these options are fine. Urgot does have a little bit of built-in healing from Pit Fighter. It gives 15% as well as a little bit of burst healing, but Omnivamp is still really good on him. Just this kind of bruiser unit oftentimes can use a lot more than 15%. Bruiser items are really good on him, so this would be like Titans and Sterix are kind of like the main bruiser items. These items are just very, very efficient in the stats they provide. Once Titans is fully stacked, which will be very quickly if you're frontlining this Urgot, um, it's giving you almost as much offensive power as a Deathblade. On top of that, it's giving you quite a bit of defensive power. 40 armor, 20 MR. That's maybe about half the value of a tank item. So it's giving you like a full offensive item and half the value of a tank item. Sterix is kind of similar. Um, it's a little bit more defensive, but these items are going to be really good. If you get Unleash the Beast, the augment, you can go multiple Sterix on Urgot is really good. In fact, even without the augment, you can go multiple Sterix. Because he has some built-in Omnivamp, you can skip Omnivamp, but it is ideal to have it, but it is possible to get away with a build like this. It's not quite as good, but it's definitely doable. Other good items, you can go Quicksilver. You could just go Hand of Justice or Gunblade instead of BT, and eventually you'll still want to look for BT and just move this to a different unit later. Um, you could just go damage if you don't have the option, but I would try pretty hard to get some combination of these 3 items. It doesn't have to be exactly this, but these are going to be your main items that you're looking for. And again, you're going to be rolling on level 6 for most of the game. So ideally, you'll have Elise, but again, if you don't have Elise, you could play a Bruiser. You could play just like an Ezreal or something. Because you are playing Tristana, make sure you don't play any other emissaries. You will want to go for Tristan 3 along with Urgot if possible. If you hit your Urgot really quickly, you can just push levels and then carry Corki instead. So let's go ahead and put the level 8 board back on here. But yeah, normally, most of the time you're gonna like pick up a lot of Tristanas while you're hitting Urgot. So if you have like 6 or something Tristanas, by the time you hit your Urgot 3, it can definitely be worth it to look for her. It depends on your items. Tristan's best items, she really wants Infinity Edge. Almost all of her damage is from her ultimate ability. She also scales when her ult gets killed, so Infinity Edge is going to be the best to amplify that. Rage Blade is really good. She has a very, very fast cast animation, so she can stack Rage Blade pretty quickly. It has good synergy with Artillerist, which gives you AD, so Rage Blade gives you attack speed to scale with it. And then just generic AD items are good. Urgot does have anti-armor in his kit, but it is only 20% instead of 30%. It's also not completely... Anytime you have it from a unit, it's never completely reliable because his first cast will not benefit from the anti-armor. So it's still very good to have Last Whisper, or even Shroud, one or the other in this comp. And as always, you're going to want anti-heal somewhere in the comp as well. But yeah, this is going to be your board on level 8. Mostly you want units to clump around your Urgot because the more damage he does, the more healing he'll get. And Urgot has a very fast cast animation, so he can. You basically want him to take damage and then hit as many units as possible to heal that back up, allowing him to take more damage and continue casting. So depending on where your experiment hex is, a lot of times you're going to want him to you're going to want like enemy units to kind of wrap around him, and he can hit multiple enemy units like this. A lot for your other experiment hex, you'll put it with Zyra. This will just make Urgot do more damage and heal more. Zyra's bonus is a lot more damage than Nunu's. 50% bonus true damage compared to 3% max health bonus magic damage. Nunu's is honestly really weak. It's not. It's almost never good. Even if you have an anomaly like giant sized or something, like Zyra's experiment bonus is still going to be better. If you do get experiment +1, you can use that on the hex instead. It's going to be really, really good, especially in the early game. Experiment +1, you can um, is probably like the experiment +1 is probably the strongest item early game because if you're only fielding like 4 units and none of them have items, maybe one of them has like one item and you get 2 other clones, it's very, very impactful. Whereas late game, it's a lot more emphasis on playing synergy bots to buff your 3 item carry, which in this case is your Urgot. Artillerist +1, you can just drop one of these guys. It's not quite as good as Experiment +1 because, first of all, there's not a good holder for the Artillerist emblem. You would probably put it on Gameplank and maybe backline him, but you don't really have items for this guy, and even if you do have items, you don't really want to itemize Gameplank. Like, Gameplank 2 is going to be weaker than Corki 2 with Emblem. Honestly, even compared to Tristana, it's probably going to be weaker, right? Because you have to put the emblem on. Tristana already has Artillerist, so you would only be able to put 2 items on this guy, whereas Tristana you can put 3 items on her. And again, if you hit Urgot really fast, you could just itemize Corki instead. Um, Econ augments are pretty good for this comp as well. It has a pretty strong baseline. It has a really strong stage 3, especially if you get the good items. So if you have econ augments that can help you hit your Urgot 3 really quickly, then maybe hopefully you can get combat in stage 4 and then just kind of tempo off that. Anomalies are going to be really good. You really want to anomaly Urgot. This comp really focuses on putting a lot of your eggs in the Urgot basket. You're playing like Zyra just for experiment, Nunu like just for experiment, and all of these artillerists in order to make your Urgot stronger. Game plan for pit fighter. Basically, your entire board is funneled into buffing Urgot. So you really, really want to grief for anomaly on this guy. Anything that gives you more AD, more tank stats, or obviously the bruiser ones are gonna be really really good. Like Berserker Rage. What are the other bruiser ones? Like Last Chance. But honestly, anything that gives you AD or tank stats is gonna be not too bad. That's gonna wrap it up for this video on Urgot Reroll. If you have any questions, let me know in the Discord. And thanks for watching.